Kermit Weeks, Fantasy of Flight, Central Florida. The Vintage Aviation Limited built me an Albatross. I flew it, picked it up here at the Omaka Air Show 4 years ago. It's not just a great airplane, it's a piece of art. The guys created something that's absolutely phenomenal just to look at, let alone fly. What I love about the Albatross is it's a very significant piece of history. It's a classic looking airplane. Looks very streamlined, although when you fly it looks fast, but it's not. But fascinating construction. It's all made out of wood. All the pieces of wood the guys had to form, you know, to put the curves in them, so they're not just flat pieces. And not only is it a classic airplane, but a lot of the German aces in World War I cut their teeth on them, got a lot of their kills in them. Von Richthofen flew them, you know, a lot of the other aces. You know, what the guys have done here in New Zealand doing these airplanes is just the envy of a lot of people in the world that are, you know, really interested in this stuff. So to come down and not only to just appreciate watching them fly, but to get to fly them as well is awesome. And plus now owning one. So most pilots that train in a modern airplane would hurt themselves in an airplane like this. So you have to work into something like this. It is a tail dragger, which most people fly, you know, tricycle gear airplanes. So that's one thing. And one of the main things is, and especially around here with people to be safe, these airplanes have no brakes. The skid in the back has a little bit of a wedge on it, so it actually drags through the grass. So as long as the tail's on the ground, that's your only brake. Now, one of the interesting stories about World War I is how the airplanes became useful in the beginning, because it was pretty marginal at the beginning of the war. And the cavalry were the eyes of the army. You know, the army, the big slow-moving army in the past, needed somebody to know where the enemy troops were and stuff. So the cavalry would go out and they would basically be the eyes of the army. Well, what happened eventually, pretty quickly in World War I, it bogged down into trench warfare, and there was very little movement of the lines. So to understand what was going on behind the lines, they started doing reconnaissance flights and that kind of stuff. But eventually it became clear that it was helpful to know what was going on behind enemy lines, but also to deprive the enemy of their eyes. So eventually that's how the fighter pilot was born, and they basically created airplanes to shoot down the enemy reconnaissance airplanes. So that's really how the whole thing came about. The Germans were very well known for their individual markings, and it was kind of a carryover from the chivalrous knight days. They had their own colors and stuff. So each squadron would have, you know, like this was in a green tail squadron, but this would have been the personal markings of this particular pilot. Now, one of the great things about these particular airplanes that have been built in New Zealand is they've got basically the original Mercedes engine in them. When Peter was trying to build the airplanes up, he couldn't even find one to borrow, let alone buy. I just happened to have 3 in my stores. We cut a deal. I sent them down for him to reverse engineer, and in the end they overhauled the engines for me. And later on we did a deal. I ended up with one of the airplanes. This particular engine is pretty much a brand new scratch build engine. Nobody else is doing this on the planet, so to come down here and get an opportunity to fly one of these is pretty cool. Now, some of the interesting things about this Mercedes engine is all the rocker arms on the top of the cam there are completely exposed. So when you're flying along, you're seeing all these things bounce up in front of you. Of course, they're lubricated, and every once in a while you get a little bit of drop of oil on there. And up on the windshield here, I always fly with some rags to wipe the windshield every once in a while, get the oil off it. And this is a liquid-cooled engine. The radiator is actually up here in the wing, and of course there's a higher pressure on the bottom and a lower pressure on top of the wing, so the air actually goes up through naturally. And one of the things is the radiator shutters here to operate the temperature are actually operated. You stick your hand outside in the slipstream and open and close the radiators. And one of the really unique things about this Albatross is the airspeed indicator is actually located out here on the strut. It's like a little anemometer, and the faster you go, the cups spin around. Of course, that's all geared to the airspeed indicator here. It's in kilometers an hour. And the airplane cruises about 120, 130 kilometers an hour. But if you want to read the airspeed, you actually have to look out to your right, out on the wing to see it. So you're looking at the airspeed, you're looking at the temperature gauges outside the cockpit, and then there's a couple stuck inside the cockpit as well. So you're looking everywhere. Of course, you're looking for enemy airplanes too.